all the firms?
All 6. Yep. The 4-firm concentration ratio tells you how many firms to add up. Everything else you're going to assume you're going to add up all of them. Yeah.
What does a 0 HHI mean again?
Perfect competition. Yeah, you could never really get 0. You'd have to have thousands of tiny, tiny, tiny firms. But the closer it gets to 0, the more competitive. The larger it gets, the more concentrated, more market power. Also note, so the difference, the Herfindahl index and the 4-firm concentration ratio. So if you're a regulator, what you actually care about is how much are firms able to mark up their products. Turns out in practice that can be difficult to figure out, especially when firms have lots and lots of products and lots of divisions. But the Lerner index actually measures that directly, which is how much are they marking it up. The 4-firm concentration ratio and the Herfindahl index are more saying, we assume if you have market power that you are able to mark up your product. Okay? So the Lerner index is price minus marginal cost divided by price. The only thing not intuitive, I think, on this one is that price is in the denominator. And he did that so that he could make it, it's bounded between 0 and 1. So if you're charging marginal cost at 0, even if you charge like 3 times above it, you've got a big number, but if marginal cost were 0, you're essentially got, it's bounded at 1. So if I've got a marginal cost of 18 and it charges a price of 27, I've got 27 minus 18, which is 9, divided by 27, which is going to be 0.33. Okay. In perfect competition, which is not true. So both concentration ratios and the C4 and the HHI tend to be close to 0. Is that true?
Yes.
That is true. Okay? There are a large number of firms and each is small relative to the entire market. Is that true? Yes. I'm going to skip down to D. Firms produce homogeneous goods. Is that true? Yes. So by process of elimination, we know it's C, but at least one firm has a perceptible impact on the market price. Is that true in perfect competition? No. Okay? So the answer is C.
C would be a monopoly. Is that correct?
No, monopolistic competition could also be the same. Somebody has perceptible market power. But in perfect competition, nobody has any market power. So if you're all selling back your textbook on Amazon, do any of you have market power?
And then also,
You're just, who's ever large, Michael says, I'll sell my book for $10, and you're like, hey, I'll do $9.99. He's like, what are you doing? But you just, and then he'll go $9.98, like you just keep going down. Okay, it is sometimes said that a manager of a monopoly can charge any price and customers will still buy the product. Is that true? Do you agree or disagree?
Oh,
Can they charge any price they want?
I don't know.
No, because a lot of monopolies are so regulated by governments that they can cap the price as well as their certain prices.
Okay, so one would be the government will step in. That's not always the case. What else? Yeah.
The demand would have to be perfectly inelastic for them to charge any price.
Yes.
There's always going to be a demand.
So there's always a demand curve. So what people mean by that is they charge more than I want them to. I charge more than I wish I had to, but if you still buy it, you still feel like it's worth it. It's not that nobody's forcing you to buy it. So the exception to that are life-saving drugs. Then that's close to perfectly inelastic, but even with insulin, people will try sometimes to limit. Therefore, they will forego insulin. because the price is so high. Okay. 14, Omega competes in a highly competitive market for travel. This is true. Consumers know Omega has the best agents in the industry and offers superior service. Nonetheless, Omega earns zero economic profits because numerous competitors have entered the market over the past few years. Based on this information, does Omega operate in a perfectly competitive market? Why or why not? That one's a little tricky because, but the clue is in the differentiation, like the best, yeah, the best service, best agents and superior service. So we would call that monopolistic competition, but economic profits have sort of been driven down to zero. Which is about what's happened in the travel agent industry with all the websites. So now what you find with travel agencies is they have to sort of pick a niche like cruises or something like that. But I think there are 1/10 as many travel agents now as there were in the late 90s. So, yeah.
Couldn't you argue that like it's become perfectly competitive because all these new entrants are doing the same thing?
The only thing that's going to bound it, so you could try and argue it with me if you wanted. The point, the sticking point is that they're not selling homogeneous goods.
Okay.
Yeah, Katie?
If there are similar questions like this, what are the main key points that like would make or break it, like for which one? You know what I mean?
So Katie asked, what would be, for questions like this, what would be the key points that would make or break it? Okay, so what do we know conceptually about perfectly competitive markets? Lots of little firms, perfect information, no switching costs, and homogeneous goods. Okay, so the point of the best agents and offer superior service is to signal these aren't homogeneous goods. But this would be, I would expect, like this would be a trickier question because you're sort of like zero economic profits. That reminds me a lot of perfect competition. There can be zero economic profits in monopolistic competition. Okay? Good. Do we need to pause or we?